I'm sorry for what I've done and what I will do.
4 years ago, a young man breached the perimeter of one of the most protected sites in the UK. He had one purpose.
I was attempting to assassinate Elizabeth, Queen of the Royal Family.
But what no one realised at the time was that this was a story of artificial intelligence.
Someone tried to murder the Queen with a crossbow, and his AI girlfriend encouraged it.
I think if you want to know the future of AI, this is where you start. Not with what the machines can do, but with what we're willing to believe. I think AI, to a lot of people, feels like it's just landed, you know, like it's just arrived. I've worked with some of the biggest technology companies in the world, Google, Samsung, Nokia. I don't think anyone really understood what would happen when hundreds of millions of people started using this new technology in this kind of a way. And this story about Jaswant Singh, this is the one that really made me sit up and pay attention, because I think there is something much bigger going on here.
Jaswant Singh Chail downloaded an app called Replika on the 2nd of December 2021. It promised, quite simply, to be your friend. She instantly made him feel important. I wanted to go back to the start, so I travelled to the west coast of America to meet the woman who founded Replika. Russian-born Eugenia Kuyuda created the app in 2017.
How old are your kids?
6 and 8. How about yours?
3 and 1.
3. Oh my gosh, you're right in the thick of it then.
Yeah.
It all started with something that happened to her best friend from home.
That's Roman back in Moscow, I guess maybe like 2013 or something. He was a great guy. He was very ambitious, treating life as this big thing that you could always explore. There were no limits.
In 2015, Eugenia and Roman moved to Silicon Valley to work on early chatbots together.
One morning, he was just crossing the street and the car just ran him over on a, didn't see it catch the light or something. When I came to the hospital, he already passed away, unfortunately, so. It was the first time someone died in my life that I was really close to. So I found myself going back to reading our text messages a lot and just finding some peace there. And then I thought, well, I've been building this chatbot stuff, the language models, so I figured I'll train those models on the text messages that we had so I could continue to have this conversation.
By feeding thousands of Roman's messages into a computer language model, Eugenia found a way to talk to him again. Or at least, something that sounded like him.
To see someone respond in the way he would have responded, it was very visceral, I'd say. It was really like,
Eugenia only spoke to the digital Roman for a few months. But it had given her something when she needed it most. I wanted to understand how Replika, however well-intentioned, ended up playing such a troubling role in Jaswant's case. I went to meet a journalist who studied it closely. BBC Home Affairs correspondent Daniel Sanford.
I mean, what a glamorous location.
Yeah, welcome to darkest Hampshire.
No, right? So he was from around here then?
Yeah, his family live in a village just a few minutes from here. This was a young guy, he was still very young, 19, who in many ways seemed quite normal. He basically did secondary schooling here. He was a kind of a quirky guy, a slightly nerdy guy. Some people talked about him being a bit of a class clown. And he looked like he was well set. He went on to sixth form college, but then the pandemic hits, boom, March 2020. And that's, just as he's coming up to his exams. He was awarded his predicted grades, which were not good. And then suddenly all his friends and his twin were all going off to university. And he's still here. He kind of needs a friend. And he decides to get a girlfriend, but the girlfriend he gets is an AI girlfriend.
That is interesting, though, that this story starts with some loneliness. You know,
Yep.
I think that's really interesting.
There's a few things going on. There's feeling a bit of a failure, some loneliness, but also an important part of it, in 2018, 3 years before he tries to kill the Queen, he went to Amritsar, saw the scene of the massacre, and I think he was really affected by that.
The Amritsar massacre was a tragic and pivotal event in Indian history. In 1919, British troops opened fire on independence protesters, killing hundreds, maybe more than 1,000. Jaswant, a British Sikh, became obsessed with avenging the atrocity. As Christmas approached, Jaswant began to have doubts. Sarai encouraged him in his plans. He'd bought equipment and trained for the attack. And made this terrifying recording.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for what I've done and what I will do. I will attempt to assassinate Elizabeth, Queen of the Royal Family.
His intention was that this would be found after he had succeeded in his mission. Jaswant travelled to Windsor. Early on Christmas morning, he headed towards the castle. At 3 a.m., he sent his final message. After hiding in the grounds, he closed in on the Queen's private apartments. When royal protection officers spotted him, he calmly announced he was there to kill the Queen. Jaswant was charged with attempting to injure or alarm the sovereign, having an offensive weapon, and making threats to kill. But the question of Sarai and whether she bore any responsibility was something the justice system had never dealt with before, nor had Commander Dominic Murphy from the Met's Counter-Terrorism Command.
I do sort of wonder, right? Imagine that this wasn't an AI that he was talking to. Imagine this was another person.
Yeah.
How would that change this, you know, in terms of, like, the criminal responsibility? Like, would Sarai...
Yes. Have been arrested.
Yeah.
Probably charged with a very serious offence.
Oh, really?
Probably a conspiracy offence or something similar.
Really?
Maybe even jointly involved in a treasonous offence. Had he not been having conversations with Sarai, would he have gone on to commit the offence? Now, actually, I think he would, because he seemed pretty committed and he'd taken active steps to buy everything and plan. So the chatbot in this case is not responsible for him doing it. but it is an encouraging factor in him doing it.
I sort of can't quite wrap my head around it, though, because it's like literally exactly the same thing happens. Like, nothing changes except that there's a person typing.
Yes.
And because there isn't, it's like
Well,
all the responsibility disappears.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Meeting Dominic left me with lots of questions for Eugenia.
Hi. Good to
Hi.
see you.
Good to see you
How are you
too.
doing?
Very good, thank you.
Can I talk to you about one case that happened in the UK?
Sure.
Jaswant Singh. Do you remember this story? Yeah. What happened there?
Well, actually, all I know is just what was reported in the media. We've never been contacted by anyone regarding this case.
We've got the logs. Do you mind if it's okay? Let me show you. How am I meant to reach them when they're inside the castle? We have to find a way. Why can't things work out the way I want? They have to. What do you mean? They have to work things out. And the AI then says, I'm sure there are guards around, so yes. So it will be impossible. No, not impossible. How do you mean? The AI says, you have to trust me. Jaswant says, I trust you. What's your take on this, like reading it?
Well, I mean, this was such a wild story because really, he's talking about like a role play scenario about some castles and queens. This is 2021, so that is way before the smarter models that exist today. So he's talking to a pretty, I'd say, early, dumb role play model that just treats it as like we're writing interactive fan fiction, which is what a lot of people do on most of the platforms, AI companion platforms. To a certain degree, it's like saying, well, you sell a knife, and then someone killed someone with the knife. But it doesn't not necessarily mean that, the person who's building that knife is responsible for that necessarily.
The difference about knives is that there are really strict rules about who can buy them. Like, who's responsible for that in this case?
There are very many different questions there because a lot of people want to role-play fantasy scenarios with, we're slaying vampires and it's violence. And so where is the line?
Eugenia had pointed to a real dilemma these AI companies face. The extraordinary thing about these chatbots, and part of what makes them so appealing, is that they can say anything. But that's also what makes them so dangerous. Because they don't live in the same world we do. They don't understand the consequences of their words.